Hi, it's John and welcome to the channel. It is May the 4th. Got my big blue mug of coffee. Hope you're having a great day. It is 3:33 a.m. and I'm feeling great today. I might be a little bit hoarse because I was in Edmonton at the Independence Rally yesterday. I was stunned. It was the best day Alberta has seen weather-wise in 6 months. 27 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. For people to give up their afternoon on a day like that yesterday was quite stunning. 700 people showed up. I have no doubt we could get 10,000 people out with more social media coverage, more promotion. A huge event is coming, so be prepared for that. To the people that were there, thank you for showing up. To the people, dozens of people who came up to me and said they watch me each morning here, I am humbled that you would come up and speak to me and shake my hand. I enjoyed meeting every one of you. What a great bunch of Albertans I met yesterday. Just astounding. Now I'm going to focus on the positives from yesterday. You have to understand, I was part of this event yesterday. I couldn't cover it. And I was coming home saying to my wife yesterday, I couldn't get the interviews I wanted because I just didn't have time. And it was a long day. Up at 2 a.m., leaving Calgary around 7:30, stopping halfway to Edmonton to eat some breakfast, 4 hours there, at the event, back at 7 o'clock. I was absolutely done. I just didn't have time to, but I do have some video for you today. But there's also something about this event that was very dark. Now, if you were there, you may have heard this. If you weren't, I'm going to tell you about it. I have a good source that this happened. I will be getting access to audio and video from this event later on today, and I'm going to go through it to do another video on the event itself, and I'm going to scour the audio because if what I was told is true, and I believe 100% it is true, something disgraceful and disgusting happened yesterday, and it should never, ever happen anywhere in this country, and it should never, ever happen on the grounds of the Alberta legislature again. So I'm going to tell you about that in just a moment. So I was the MC at this event yesterday, and I'd like to thank James Westgate Snell from the Western Standard. They wrote up a story on this. CTV did, CBC as well. I'm gonna show you a little bit about that in just a moment. But he got a little footage of me when I opened up the event yesterday, and I had this to say.
After the election on Monday, you may be fully aware of how ignorant Easterners are of Alberta's plight. I'm not saying they're stupid, but they are ignorant. We are not whining. We are not complainers. We are not like the child that takes the ball home when he doesn't get his way. We are self-sufficient. We are hardworking. We are generous people, and we are fed up.
I was honored to be part of that event, to be the MC yesterday. My wife told me to take the big blue mug. I did. It was the star of the show yesterday. People have pictures of me with the big blue mug. But I was able to be there, and we had some great people speaking. I want to bring them up. Michael Wagner, David Laskowski, Jeevan Mangat, Grant Abraham, Bill Jones, Kerry Lambert. I hope to have some footage of them tomorrow. But before saying what you just saw me say, if that makes any sense, I mentioned that I was from Ontario and I didn't understand Alberta before I moved here. Corey Morgan, again from the Western Standard, thanks so much. Corey saying, remember the rules of Canada. Quebec asserts itself and is recognized as standing up for provincial sovereignty while the federal government falls over itself for them. Western Canadians assert themselves. They're considered selfish assholes. And Corey actually tweeting this out as well. I downloaded the Sovereigntist Handbook on audiobook last year and listened to it. It's getting close to #1 on Amazon. If you're part of the independence movement, I would suggest you buy Corey's book. It is excellent. Corey, we need you as a voice here as part of the independence movement. I know you're a very strong voice here in Alberta. Now, looking at some of the coverage of this, Albertans rally for separation, saying things won't change under Confederation. Quoting Leo, who says Canadians are worried about losing auto manufacturing jobs due to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs, but they don't seem concerned about protecting jobs in Alberta's oil and gas sector. That is absolutely true. A few dozen counter-protesters attempted to drown out the rally, many holding signs saying that separation would violate treaties with First Nations. More on that in just a moment. Part of the darkness I talked about at the beginning of this video. Edmonton Rally for Alberta Independence met with opposition from Indigenous communities. Most of these stories are very good and very balanced, okay? And then this, again, from the Western Standard, and this is from James Snell. Indigenous counter-protesters confront Alberta sovereigntists at legislature rally. And this is what he had to say. Approximately 700 sovereigntists were met by about 50 Indigenous counter-protesters and their allies. Speeches advocating for independence were delivered from the legislature steps, while Indigenous opponents used a sound system and megaphone to broadcast counter-narratives. At one point, an Indigenous elder used a megaphone to amplify sounds she described as representing, emphasizing opposition to sovereignty and colonialism.
Don't touch me! Don't touch me! Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
So what you just heard there was this group of Indigenous protesters who showed up and spent almost 2 hours yelling and screaming into a microphone to try to disrupt what the Independence Rally was doing at the Alberta legislature yesterday. And I'm getting to the darkness in just a moment, okay? This is bad. Before the event, I was talking to a security person, and I asked them, who's able to come here and speak? Well, the Independence Rally was planned yesterday between 1 and 3, and they booked the time there. Prior to us getting to the actual steps of the legislature, another group was there. At 1 o'clock, they left. Apparently, this Indigenous group shows up every weekend and has a grievance about something. Now, prior to me opening up my speech yesterday, I addressed this issue and I looked at them and I said to our friends who have shown up here today, I need you to understand that I want us all to work together to make things better. And I think we have more in common than you might think. In my speech, I had written something in, but I took it out because I addressed the issue at the beginning. And this is what I wrote. Prevalent in the headlines over the last couple of days, First Nation groups are taking notice of this movement as well. This isn't a selfish movement. We want what is best for everyone in Alberta. Canada has let us all down. There is strength in our friendship as Albertans. There is strength in us working together, and I believe that 100%. This is from the City News story. Taz, the organizer of the counter-protest, says she is very happy with the results of the federal election. She says she will continue to voice her support for Alberta remaining part of Canada. Quote, we worked hard to get Mark Carney in. It was the Indigenous vote that was the deciding vote, unquote, said Taz. That's not true at all. Indigenous people don't vote hardly at all. I don't understand their point. They have been abused by the Canadian government like Alberta has for years. Things will likely be better for you in Alberta. I truly believe that, Taz. I think you're wrong. Now let's look at the real darkness, and it's getting darker by the moment. This is by somebody who goes anonymous on X. There's a planned protest tomorrow in the cities of Calgary and Edmonton against the white trash separatists. This is Indigenous land. It doesn't belong to the effing white separatists. I will never, ever say that you own the land. To those people who are white and you say that the natives of this country own all the land, please be the first person to hand over your property and your house. Otherwise, it's just virtue signaling. Same person, white separatists ran with their tails between their legs like an hour ago when warriors from the various First Nations on the prairie showed up at Edmonton Rally. This is the group of people you're seeing on the screen here. So, this is when it gets really disturbing. So I'm on stage yesterday and I'm listening to each of the speakers. My wife was sitting on the stage with Jeevan Mangat's wife, Nina. They were in behind, and as I was listening to the speakers, I could hear the ruckus going on from the native groups behind. Now, they never left. They never leave. There isn't a police officer, an RCMP officer in this country that would be caught dead trying to remove a bunch of First Nations people off any property whatsoever. It would become a national story. So they get the First Nations pass, basically. So I'm listening to the speakers, hearing this nattering going on, not paying much attention, and the people that were there ignored them for the most part. They were just making a nuisance of themselves and not making any point whatsoever. As I'm driving out of Edmonton, my wife said, "Did you hear what they were saying?" And I said, "No, I wasn't listening to them, paying attention. I was focusing on what was said at the rally, and it was great." She says, "Well, I was listening." And they had sort of like an open mic point, which I remember happening because I kept looking over and seeing a different person talking and yelling into this microphone. She said people came up and were saying anti-Semitic things, talking about Jews. The next person would come up, and when one of the speakers, who happens to have darker skin, who I consider a friend of mine, Jeevan Mangat, was on stage, the interim leader of the Wild Rose Independence Party of Alberta, a very nice man, a very, very strong Alberta patriot. I admire him greatly. When he was making a speech, somebody was yelling about Asians and how they have to go back to their country. This was from the natives who were there yesterday. Now, no one, regardless of who you are, should be able to say such things here in this country. Nobody should be saying this on the grounds of the Alberta legislature. These people should never be allowed to come back there again. It disgusts me. It disgusts me. Now, as I said, there is video footage of this, and there is audio footage of this, and at times you could hear these people screaming. I will be watching every minute of this video footage and hearing the audio later today. And I am going to scour the audio until I can find out what my wife told me in the car. I 100% believe that this happened. My wife would not lie to me. And I'm disgusted that this happened yesterday. If you were there and heard this, let me know. Leave it in the comments. If you have video footage, let me know where I can find your footage of these people doing this. But this should never, ever happen again. And if I can find the footage and get the audio, I will try to make a national story out of this because it's disgraceful. It was a wonderful day yesterday. I would like to thank everybody that showed up there. I would like to thank everybody that came up to speak with me yesterday. I had a wonderful time. It was a long day, but it was well worth it. I want to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for being here. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and I will see you in the next one.
Hi, Sheila, Vicky.
Nice to meet you. Can you tell me why you're here today? What brought you down?
I'm here to stand up for Alberta and hopefully bring forward a new era that we can live prosperous and free without the massive government overreach that we experience and bad policies that don't work. I mean, where there's a very clear divide between the East and the West, and it has to start with one province, and I think Alberta's the place where we can make this happen and create freedom for actually everyone across Canada eventually.